So we took a look at sticking last video, which leads us into an area that is often a little fuzzy, which is the role of wrestling within Tai Chi, and how wrestling and how is that expressed within the Tai Chi form, right? Because within the form, there's all of these moves that are actually joint locks, right? Twist the joint is one of the 8 basic moves. Twist the joint is essentially joint locks. So it's one of the 8. And we see joint locks, some of them are hidden, right? Single whip here, that's a joint lock. Imagine there's a fist coming this way. This here, that's the joint lock, because there's a punch comes in, this hand is in control, I yank, and then I turn, right? I drop the elbows, which means I'm using my forearms. Remember, my hand is holding on to somebody's fist, that's here, and then I use my other hand, my other arm to drop, so I'm cranking down on my opponent's fist. So that's a joint lock right there. But there's other joint locks, right? If we go back, so we've just done here, we come here, 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 here. This is a joint lock, right? I'm here and I do this. So why is my hand behind my thigh? Tiger's my mouth behind my thigh, and then I turn up. Well, that's because tiger's mouth behind the thigh is always a sign, it's always a symbol that the tiger's mouth is holding on to something, right? Sense memory, holding on to something. Instead of leaving it in space, we put it back here, which means that really the move is this. My hand is here. I've just, right? Because the move is this to here to here. So this hand is holding on to my opponent's wrist. And again, I'm not grabbing. I'm simply doing tiger's mouth, and that's creating a place where I can hold on to the wrist, because the wrist or the hand becomes bigger than the wrist. So all I have to do is make tiger's mouth and I have the wrist. So I have the wrist here, and then with the left side of my body, I'm doing this. But I'm also doing this with this hand. So what's happening here? Well, if I'm doing this with that hand, I'm turning the arm, and at the same time, this hand is finding the crook of the shoulder, and I'm pulling down. So I'm hyperextending, turning my opponent's arm and turning. All right, putting pressure on the shoulder joint, twist the joint. At the same time, my foot is coming to the inside. So what it's doing is it's doing a leg trap, right? Because I'm going around my opponent's foot, putting pressure on their knee as I put pressure on the shoulder. So that's, right, twist the joint. That's a shoulder joint lock. So we have a joint lock, we have a wrist lock, we have a shoulder lock, wrist lock. We also have all of these basically ankle locks that we do with our feet. These are rarely finishing moves, right? Joint locks, you come here, and then now you have to do something else in order to really get the control of your opponent. But the thing is, so we have these joint locks. We also have these compression holds, right? Which we saw in, for example, play the pipa. Here, this hand is actually holding your opponent's fist against your chest, so that when you turn, that's another joint lock, because you're hyperextending their arm, and then your arm comes in, and then now you're putting pressure against the elbow. Joint lock. So we have these compression holds, we have these yanks, we have these holds where we're using the tiger's mouth to hold on to a wrist or a leg or a foot, right? So once we have all of those, we need to do something with them, right? And this is where the wrestling aspects of Tai Chi comes in. Because there's a lot of moments where actually what we're doing is we're using our legs to attack the base of our opponent. And I think this is one of the things that's often missed in a lot of the Tai Chi. So clearest example is drag down. Boom. What is this? What is this position? What is this? What is this position? All it is somebody comes at you, you deflect, you yank down, step into their space, and then this is the arm right here, and then I push. Now this, if I just did this with the arm, that's not a very good push. The actual work is done by the legs, and that's why we have this kind of picking up the knee and stepping. This is a slightly bigger step. Why are we picking up the knee? Apart from the fact that this could simply be, right, knee strike, I'm picking up the foot so I can step over my opponent's leg, and then I'm going to use my thigh to push, right? So my thigh is underneath my opponent's leg, and so when I make this shape, I'm actually attacking the root of my opponent. So then when I push, it only has to be a small push, because right here, this, that's the attack, right? If we're close enough, his hip is against my hip, and I go here, I've just attacked the root, and then I just have to push, and my opponent goes down, right? Brush knee, here to here. That is also a wrestling move, because you can imagine either somebody holds on to you, or you come in, or throws a punch. You're coming in, you're attacking your opponent's knee, turning it, cranking it, your foot is in the way, and then pushing. So this is not necessarily a strike, it's more that you're here and you're picking up one leg, throwing, and pushing against your opponent's chest, right? Here, here. Again, that's a wrestling move, that's a throw. The big difference is that we're never going to go to the ground. So all the wrestling moves that we see are all about attacking the root and throwing, pushing our opponent so that they fall to the ground. We're not going to go to the ground. We don't want to go to the ground. We're wearing nice clothes. We have our Tai Chi robes. We don't want to get them dirty. Actually, more importantly, if there's several people who are attacking, you don't want to go to the ground, because then they can kick you in the head while you're dealing with one guy, the other guy's hitting you. So we're going to stand up. We're going to always maintain our vertical line, right? So this is much closer to Shui Jiao, the Chinese wrestling, where again, there's very little groundwork. Most of the stuff that you do is fast, it's short, it's sharp, and it's all about throwing somebody off balance. That's what Tai Chi does, right? So, more importantly, let's see, we're elbow strike, shoulder strike. Let's see, sorry. We just did single whip, and then we're going to come and do elbow shoulder, and then we have this transition here, elbow shoulder. Well, what's this transition? From here, I turn, I get up, turn, drag down. Well, this move here is the throw. All right? Shoulder strike. If I'm doing shoulder strike, that means I'm inches away from my opponent. He's right there. Boom. So my left hand can grab, my right hand can grab, and then I turn. And then my left knee comes up, picks up his knee, and at the same time, my arms are circling. And then I drop. So what you're doing here is you're grabbing somebody, and then you're throwing them, literally flipping them over on their head, right? So you have, in what looks like just a transition between two segments, you actually have a pretty active throw. And it also requires everything that we talked about before. Using the feet to get into their space, right? I'm sticking, I'm following. This is something that anybody who does wrestling knows, that you have to have contact in order for any wrestling move to work. So again, this is where we want that sticking, we want that moving into somebody's space. That's what we're doing here. Get into somebody's space, I'm going to use my foot to lift. I'm going to use my foot or my knee or thigh to lift, right? Drag down. Boom. So somebody comes at me, come here, pick them up, push them off. That's the essence of Tai Chi wrestling. It's in the leg, it's in the feet, it's all of this coming in, picking up, coming in, picking up. Coming in, picking up. The knees are basically attacking your opponent's leg. You also see it in all these foot locks, right? Boom, foot lock, destroy their base, and then you come in and you push, right? I'm going to see all of this here in the second one. Well, what are you doing here? Lock, so you've just deflect, you lock the foot, and then you push, right? These are all the essence of Tai Chi wrestling, essentially, right? So what you want to do is whenever there's a move, I'm trying to remember my kind of public Yang style, but whenever there's a move where the knee comes up and you push, you want to remember that this knee is not just going up for no reason. This knee is going up because we've fished, we've gone forward, we fished with our front foot in order to find something to lift, to pull up. So it's not a strike, it's actually a lift. So it's almost like if you're doing ward off, pung. Technically, it's like you're doing yank, but you're doing it with your foot or your knee, right? So yank is here with the hands, it's here with the hands, and it's here with the foot. Yank. That's technically what you're doing. So you can yank in all sorts of directions and with legs and feet. And this yanking, or pluck, is another one, right? Because remember, it's one of our 8s. So pluck or yank is in a way at the core of Tai Chi wrestling, right? So you have yank or pluck, which is yang in nature, and then you have twist the joint, which is yin in nature. So between those two, right, here, that's twist the joint, right? You're getting everybody in these joint locks. Twist the joint, and then you follow up with push, punch, whatever it is. Or you have yanks that you follow with a push, right? Or you have yank, you follow with a push. All of that's the essence. So you twist or you yank, and then you push. Twist, when you twist the joint, remember, here, and then you push. This is going to be the push along the twist, right? Because it gives you something to push against. And then you push, or deflect, yank, push. That's Tai Chi wrestling right there, right? You go fishing with the feet, use your arms to twist or yank, and then you push. And it's very sharp and fast. So it's not a lot of like wrapping in, going in. We'll see later on in the second one. We have actually all of these here, right? Here. We keep talking about these are double hits to the forehead, but actually, to me, what's more important is that somebody grabs you, and these are all ways of, right, getting away from somebody who's going for a single leg grab, double leg takedown, all of this kind of thing, right? Double legs takedown. You come here to block against it, and then this, right, comes in. These are all moves to either knock your opponent's arms away from you as they go for a grab, or after you've moved out of the way, you're clear, then you can attack and you come in, right? Anyway, that's going to be for later. But the idea, though, is that within the Tai Chi form, you're looking for the twisted joints, you're looking for the yanks, and you're doing or plucks, and you're doing them in all sorts of different directions, all sorts of different ways, using the feet and the hands. And that's the essence of Tai Chi wrestling. That's where the juice is.